live stream. We're streaming on multiple platforms. And today's topic is the new law that has passed, the $2.2 trillion stimulus that's going to revive the economy. The official title is the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Recovery Act, also known as CARES Act. And today's speaker is our very own Executive Director, Mr. Carlos Lopez. Mr. Lopez, can you hear me?
I can, Tony. Can you hear me?
Yes, we are live. I could hear you. And you spent this weekend doing some research, right?
Oh, did I ever? I wanted to understand it myself so that way I can explain it to others.
Yeah, and I was going through your slides. There's a lot of details, a lot of different variables that we need to be aware. So it's great that we're having it today, right? Fresh and hot as it just came out. So with that said, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, we'll get started. Just let everybody know we're giving you the details as we get them. There's going to be lawsuits. There's going to be amendments. There's going to be changes. So we're giving it to you raw. So let's get started.
Nice.
So like Tony said, it is $2 trillion. And it's for individuals. We're going to cover what's for individuals, businesses, SBA loans, IRS notices, practitioner services. We're going to show you how to protect your clients. And most importantly, watch out for scammers. Stay updated. A lot of scammers out there. So for individuals, the stimulus payment is going to be in checks or direct deposits. IRS prefers direct deposits. It's more economical, it's more efficient, and it'll go into your direct deposit where you had your refunds deposited. There's nowhere to sign up. We've already been through that with several phone calls. The way you sign up, so to speak, is filing your tax returns. So it's going to be based on the amount that's on your 2019 tax return. If 2019 is not available, then they're going to base it on your 2018. So if both of those years you haven't done, you better get on it if you want to get this money. And here's a stimulus calculator for you. We're going to make this presentation available for you on our website in our learning system called Prendo 365. And we'll send out an email letting you guys all know how to get a hold of this. So let's continue. So the IRS, we were on a phone call with them just the other day, and they were telling us they've reduced its call center by 50%. IRS employees are following the stay-at-home orders. So imagine this, before the stay-at-home orders, the IRS was answering 70% of their phone calls. They just reduced that by half. So they're only going to be answering about 35% of phone calls. Don't call them. You'd be frustrated. It's a stressful time for everybody. If you want updates, go to their irs.gov/coronavirus, and that'll send you some updates. Not send you, but it'll have updates in English y en español ready for you. Y vamos a tener nuestra presentación mañana a las 9 en español. So some of the latest deadlines are tax deadlines have been extended to file and pay to July 15, 2020. And most states, including California, are conforming to this new extension. Now, on the extension, let me just tell you this. The interest will continue to accrue. By law, if you owe the government money, they can charge you interest. However, they're not going to charge penalties. So that's going to be available for us. The new rebate is $1,200 for each taxpayer, $2,400 for joint returns, plus $500 for every qualifying child. So that means a family of 4 is going to get $2,400 for the parents and then $500 for each child, $3,400. Now, if you didn't file for 18 or 19 and you receive Social Security, the IRS is going to base your rebate on your SSA 1099. And you don't have to send it in. You don't have to file a tax return. IRS already has it. Yeah, they're going to take it off the retirement benefits 1099 or your Social Security benefit statement. Now, the IRS will have an online form to fill out in case you've never filled out a 1040 before and you want to give the IRS your routing number and your deposit number. So they will have a form for that. Now, there is, of course, the famous phase outs. So the phase out begins after $75,000 of adjusted gross income for single people, $112,000 for head of household, and $150,000 for married filing joint. So it's reduced by $5 for each $100 of income that exceeds these threshold phase outs I just told you about. Taxpayers will be completely phased out at $99,000 and $196,000, head of households in the middle there. Unfortunately, taxpayers with ITINs have been left out of this rebate, even though they're employees and they work. So unless an amendment is introduced, ITIN holders will not receive the stimulus check. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to send it with mixed status families. We're waiting for guidance on mixed status families. Mixed status means mom has a social, dad has an ITIN, kids have socials. That's a mixed status. Both parents have ITINs, kids have socials, mixed status. We believe they're going to use the same rules that were used for earned income tax credit. If one person on the return has an ITIN, if one parent on the return has an ITIN, nobody gets the rebate. In 2008, we had a stimulus then too during the housing crisis. It was $300 for single, $600 for married filing joint. They did not send out stimulus checks in 2008 to ITIN holders. Mixed status families were also excluded except the military. If you're in the military and your spouse is an ITIN holder, you have an exemption from this. Now in 2008, Hispanic immigrants' unemployment rate jumped from 5.1% to 8% right after this stimulus was done. Significantly, a greater increase than among other American workers. Since 1996, the IRS has issued ITINs to individuals ineligible for a Social Security number. Now, mostly because they are immigrants who are undocumented. But the federal law prevents these taxpayers' info from being shared for immigration enforcement purposes. That's why the IRS has been successful with this ITIN program. ITINs are strictly an IRS function. Nobody else in the government issues, expires, manages ITINs except the IRS. Now check this out. By 2015, okay, and that's 5 years ago, 4 million people were using ITINs, and check this out, to pay $4.35 billion in net taxes. Never able to receive an eligibility for anything. No unemployment, no food stamps, no subsidized housing, no Medicaid. About 5% of the US labor force is undocumented. However, they make up 10% or more in the accommodation, food preparation, and service sectors in our country. What we need is a restitution-based immigration reform. So I know I'm going to get some pushback on this. Hey, Lopez, you're supposed to focus on taxes. Don't get political. Well, it is political. Let's just face it. These people are hard workers. They're affected just like everyone else. You know, let's cut everybody a slack. They contribute to the economy. You know, they don't get any benefits. So we strongly believe that this should be included in this. Tony, do you have any comments?
Yeah, no, my comment is the U.S. citizen children who have Social Security numbers and their children, we're waiting to get guidance. But if they do not get any stimulus, if they don't get the $500 just because their parents have ITINs, the way I see it, that's like the government saying, you are second-class American citizens. You are not a true American citizen because your dad or your mom is an immigrant, an ITIN holding immigrant. And that is a clear message that they're going to be sending. So hopefully they do, but that's going to get interesting, where I know a lot of our members are pushing at this. They're wondering, why are these American? It's one thing for the ITIN recipient to not get the stimulus. Okay, I understand, I guess. But for a U.S. American citizen who is paying into the system through their family, is not getting any rebates, that's another thing. So we're lining up some interviews. We're reaching out to our fellow congresswomen and congressmen to ask them one simple question: why did you leave out these taxpayers, these contribuyentes? And we'll see what they have to say.
Yeah, let's see. We got to keep the pressure on them. So here's some more provisions. The waiver for the 10% early withdrawal penalty is in place. So if you take out some of your 401k, your IRA, until July 15th, there will be no penalty on that. Now, I don't know about the states. Now, California has one, 2.5%, but the IRS will waive that 10% early withdrawal penalty, you know, if you take it out before you're 59 and a half. On distributions up to $100,000, and you can actually repay it back anytime during 3 years from the distribution to avoid the penalty. You still include it in your gross income, prorated over the 3 taxable year period. The 401k loan limit has increased to $100,000. The required minimum distribution for certain retirement plans has been waived for 2020. So if you don't feel like you need to take out a required minimum distribution, you can ask for an exception. If your employer pays for your education loan, that's going to be excluded from income. Right now, you get a 1099 for that. Until July 15th, if your employer pays for your education loan, excluded from income. It's a benefit. Now, here's something different. The IRS or Congress and our commissioner makes it very clear. Congress makes these laws. The IRS executes the laws, interprets and executes. So you're talking about 2 different agencies here. Sometimes there's a lot of mistrust, misinformation. So modifications of the limitations of charitable contributions has been modified for 2020. There are some individuals that are limited to 50% of their AGI. That's been suspended because the government wants people that are charitable give without being penalized. Finally. Corporations, a 10% limitation has been increased to 25% of taxable income. Contributions of food inventory has increased from 15% to 25%. And there's going to be an adjustment to income on the front page of the 1040. It's a $300 deduction for cash contributions without itemizing. It's like that educator expense for $250. Now there's a $300. There's going to be a $300 line for charitable contributions. Now the IRS has a People First initiative. This came out a couple of weeks ago, and I thought I'd go over it with everybody so you understand all these different things that are going on right now. The government's working really hard to help us get out of this terrible virus invasion that we're under. So it provides immediate relief to help people. It starts April 1st, which is Wednesday. For existing installment agreements, your monthly payments have been waived until July 15th. On new installment agreements, you don't have to pay till July 15th. If you have an offer and compromise, they're going to still process those. If you are in an offer and compromise payment plan, they will suspend the payments till July 15th. If you're delinquent on return filings, now this is why I put this in here, because if you don't file for 3 years and you're due a refund, if you wait till that 4th year, your refund is gone forever. Forever.
Yeah.
So 2016, if you haven't done that return yet, you know you're getting a refund. It's not a bank, people. It is not a bank. You'll lose your money. For non-filers, did you know there's over 1 million taxpayers that are owed money? 1 million. Who are you? Get your money. What are you guys doing? What are you thinking of? IRS will still continue to receive new offer and compromise applications. And here's a quote from our commissioner. They're temporarily adjusting their processes to help people and businesses during these uncertain times. We're facing this together. We want to be part of the solution to improve the lives of all our people in our country.
Nice.
Here's something else that's going to be new. Field collection activities, minimal until July 15th. Automated liens and levies turned off till July 15th. Here's a big one, even though you can't travel anywhere. Passport certifications to the State Department for those that are severely back due on their taxes, they're not going to send them in. They're not going to send anybody to the private debt collection. There's 4 companies that the IRS is able to use by law to collect back taxes. That's going to be suspended until July 15th. Check this. I couldn't believe when I heard this. Field office and correspondence audits will not be, no new ones will be issued until July 15th. So take a deep breath. Here's another big one. Earned income tax credit and wage verification reviews. If you have one of these reviews and you know who you are, and the IRS has said, we want proof that you actually earn this income, those verification reviews have been suspended until July 15th. Send in a reasonable excuse or a reasonable reason for not having that information available. IRS will accept it and release your earned income tax credit. The Office of Appeals has now become truly independent. However, all the employees that work there are former IRS agents, so they've all been trained. Statute of limitations is going to be temporarily suspended. Practitioner priority service, since they cut back on all of their call centers, it's going to take a while to get through the phone, just to let you guys know. Now, here's my favorite part, the business provisions. So that's a little bit tricky, but all eligible employers are permitted to claim a 50% credit against wages. Corporations receive a credit for the first $10,000 of compensation, including health benefits. This credit offsets employment taxes otherwise paid during a calendar quarter. The employer is eligible if operations fully or if they are partially suspended during a calendar quarter due to government order and receipts are less than 50%. So if you've dropped down 50% of what you've made, you could be eligible for this new credit. Credit is based on qualified wages paid to the employee, and it applies to tax-exempt organizations. So corporations may postpone employer payroll taxes. 50% of Social Security taxes for the self-employed may be postponed. 50% of deferred taxes are due by the end of December 31st, 2021. The remainders are due December 31st, 2022. So all they've done is defer them. They've forgiven up to $10,000, but the rest has been deferred. Social Security trust funds are held harmless. In other words, if part of this includes what you've held for your employees, that's the trust part, you won't be penalized for that. It's up to 100% penalty, by the way, if you get penalized for withholding trust funds from the IRS. It temporarily removes the taxable income limitation to allow an NOL, net operating loss, to fully offset income. So before there was a limitation on that. Now losses from 18, 19, or 20 may be carried back 5 years to a more prosperous time. And this is all applicable to pass-through businesses and sole proprietors. Now, here's another big one. Economic stimulus for businesses. SBA loans may be available within 2 weeks. Who's eligible for these loans? If you have fewer than 500 employees, you may qualify. If you have more than 500 employees, you must operate in the food, accommodations, nonprofits, or veterans organizations. The maximum loan is based on your payroll costs. The average, they want you to figure your average monthly payroll cost in 19, including wages for employees making under 100,000, expenses for paid sick leave, healthcare, and other benefits multiplied by 2.5. See? So they take your monthly payroll and your monthly benefits, healthcare, sick leave, and so on. So let's say that comes out to $10,000 a month. So if you multiply it times 2.5, your maximum loan is $25,000. The maximum loan is 10 million. So this would be a company that is, that payroll expenses are approximately almost $3 million. Not bad, huh? But here's always some strings attached. You don't need to try to get a loan elsewhere first, because with SBA loans, and I know I've had one in the past, I had a couple of them, you need to try to get a loan somewhere else first, get denied, and then go to the SBA. You won't need to provide a personal guarantee or collateral. A lot of times they make you put up your home as collateral or whatever you're buying as collateral. You need to calculate your average monthly payroll costs from 2019. Now here's the beauty of this. Loans can be converted into forgivable grants. That means the IRS can't forgive it. Okay, but first, do not lay off your employees. Once you get this loan and you lay them off, you're gonna have to pay it back. See, payroll costs for laid off employees won't be forgiven unless you laid them off before February 15th. See, if they were part of your normal layoff scheme, well, yeah, you can't, be faulted for that. However, you can reduce your employee wages up to 25% before forgiveness begins to decrease. So you can give your employees a 25% haircut and you can still get this forgiveness, although I don't recommend it. Employees are the front line of our companies, and without them, we wouldn't be where we are today. Aid will be available beyond payroll, depending on your industry. And here's where you can find out how to apply for one of these loans. The URL is up on the screen. Write it down real fast. No, I'm just kidding. If you go to sba.gov/disaster, you'll see a banner on the very top of their site that says coronavirus aid. Click here, click there. It'll take you right to where you want to go. Now, every time we get into this kind of a situation, the scammers and identity thieves are already preying on taxpayers. So the IRS should directly issue the payments, not somebody else, not a broker, not your bank that you got a bank product from. You should be getting your payments directly from the IRS. Do not provide your Social Security number to anyone that calls, texts, or emails you claiming to represent the IRS, state agency, or another government agency. The IRS will never call you without sending you a letter first, and even a certified letter that will have the person's name and phone number for you to call them. Then that's how the dialogue begins. But they will never call you first. Remember that. On your emails, we train our employees consistently on this. Do not provide your Social Security number to anyone that calls, texts, or emails you. I already said that. Never click on links or emails if you don't recommend this, if you don't recognize the sender. Don't do it. If you know you're not getting a package from FedEx, junk mail that thing. And besides, if you look at the return email address, it'll have some funky name on it. Don't do it. Okay, you are not required to complete a form or pay a fee in order to receive a stimulus payment. Okay? An IRS notice will be mailed to the taxpayers 15 days after distributing the stimulus payment. So you're going to get your payment first, and then you're going to get a letter. Tony, do we have any questions coming in for this?
Yeah, we do. We do. Are you ready for questions now?
I'm ready for questions.
Yes. So one of the questions is, how about college students that are claimed as dependents? What if they're older than 17?
Yeah, we're waiting for guidance on that. We're not sure if students are going to, or dependents are going to. Now, if it's a student who is not a dependent, yes. But I'm assuming they mean students that are still dependents.
Yeah, because what I've been seeing is if they're, you got to be under 17. So if you're having adult dependents still on the tax return, it doesn't look like they're going to get anything.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Unless they're a student, right? But then even in that case, the student's not going to get the 500. It's the parents that are claiming them as a dependent.
Yeah, exactly. So I know the IRS is going to issue a Q&A on that specifically. So we'll wait for that one. And the next question is, would taxpayers with the Social Security number and dependents, or what if the children have an ITIN, but the parents have a social? Will only the parents get it and not the children?
Yes. In that case, I believe, both parents have legitimate Social Security numbers and the kids have ITINs. I believe the parents will receive the $2,400, but they won't receive the $500 for each child. That's what I believe.
Got it.
I don't know yet. We're waiting for guidance.
Yes. When will the IRS start sending out the money? Somebody made a comment. I keep hearing rumors that it's in a few weeks, but I don't know if we know that.
the Secretary of Treasury, Mnuchin, said they're going to start sending them out in 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, got it. Yeah, so hopefully by the mid-month, this April.
By mid-April. Yeah.
Yes. Next question is, I just filed my 2019 tax return. Did I make the cut? Well, we don't know yet, right? We don't know. The IRS hasn't said a certain date for 2019, or else we're gonna go to 2018.
Did you get your acknowledgement from the IRS? You should have it's called a postmark on it. That will verify the date that you filed. And as far as I know, if they're coming in, they're going to issue checks. But
Nice.
The cutoff date, who knows when that is? Because if you just sent it in and they've already come up to your social and they say, oh, they didn't send in their 19, they're going to base it on your 18.
Yeah, that's the key. And then, and then I also was reading that because a lot of taxpayers say maybe your 19 was a good amount. Sorry, your 2018 tax year, you had a higher amount and you haven't filed your 19. They're just gonna base it on the latest tax year. So they're gonna do 2019, or else we're gonna go to 2018. Yeah. So it looks like that's just the way it is. And also, if you had a high 2019, but you got laid off last month or the month before that, just early this year, then maybe you're not going to qualify because your 2019 is too high, but then you're going to be able to reconcile on the 2020 tax year return. So if the way I see it, it's going to be in advance on the money that you may earn this year. So if, let's say, you earn like $300,000 in 2019, but in January you got laid off and you end up earning like $10,000 this year, you're still going to get your money, but you have to wait until you do your 2020 tax return. So where they kind of look at the latest year. So,
yeah, they're going to reconcile those.
To be aware of that. Another question here is, why didn't they give more money for head of households? That looks like that's just a comment.
Talk to your congressman. We've been real busy. Our congressman is Jimmy Panetta. Tony's been working on him. He's been working on his office. He gets phone calls. He gets letters. We're on it. So you have to be on your congressman. They're the ones who control all this stuff. And they're the ones who make the laws. And so get on your congressman or congresswoman.
Yes. Congress, yeah, they're the ones that could. And also, a lot of people think, oh, that's just the way it is. That's what they gave us. Like, no, like they're creating this from scratch. Like, and so they could change the verbiage on it as they wish. And if they did something you like, great. And if they didn't, then just let them know that you don't like that. Another comment is, just a comment. Thank you from New York. So people are happy we're on. Somebody else said, I read the law. Yeah, I read the law and it's not clear with the taxpayer with an ITIN and kids with the social. Yeah, you're right. It's not clear. That's why we're waiting on more guidance on that. Let's see here. And what about if I have a business with no employees? Do I get a rebate or can I get a grant from the IRS?
If you're self-employed, yes, you can for yourself. Yeah, through the stimulus. Perfect. Oh, and another question is, will the stimulus have to be repaid back next year? You know, I don't recall reading that anywhere or even hearing it. But how about you, Tony, in all of the meetings we've been in?
Yeah, no, it appears that you do not have to repay it, number one. Number two, it is not going to be taxable. And number three, even if you owe tax now, like federal income tax, you're still going to get the full amount. That's what, and the reason we're saying we think is because at this point, even the Washington Post and all these news agencies, they're trying to dissect the law and give everyone their opinion on what they think the intent was. Now, until we get like FAQ or guidance from the IRS, they will say specifically, no, it's not taxable. They will say specifically, no, you don't have to repay it. No, it doesn't matter if you have debts, we still get the money. So they're going to give us that specifically. Then we'll know for sure. And even then, if you don't agree with them, guess what you do? You sue the IRS. You sue the government and you say, hey, I don't think that was the intent of the law. And then it goes to the courts and they may overrule it. So it looks like with all these laws, it's never like black or white. There's always intent, and there are people interpret it in different ways. And then didn't you mention, Mr. Lopez, there's going to be a bunch of lawsuits with this law? More than likely?
Yeah. Well, there's always lawsuits, and there's going to be a lot of uproar over this.
Yeah. And then our friend Roberto Pons from Florida made a comment. He said, there's no repayment mechanism in the law.
Whoa,
so there's no way
Roberto.
to repay. But if you want to lobby and ask for a repayment, you could definitely do that, I guess.
Oh,
if you
yeah,
want
who's
to
going to
lobby
do
the
that? Roberto, are you going to do that?
Yep. What about people that owe child support? So I thought I saw somewhere that if you owe child support, they're going to yank it away. But again, this was just like a news publication. I don't know. Have you seen anything, Mr. Lopez?
I did. I read that in the material that I got this from, and I didn't put that in there, but I think they're going to go after child support payments.
Got it. Another comment here, SBA loan for payroll. Are you required to keep everyone for 40 hours a week to be 100% forgiven? Well, first of all, the being forgiven is not a guarantee, right? When they say they're going to forgive the loan?
Yeah, it's not a guarantee. However, if you lay off anybody after you apply for your loan and you get it, you won't be forgiven that part of the loan. You'll have to pay that back. You can reduce your employees' pays by 25% and not be affected. So,
Got it.
So, I know I shouldn't even say this, but if you have a business that has to have layoffs because it's seasonal, and I think everybody knows what I'm talking about because we're in one ourselves. Yeah, it's the inevitable. You don't have to keep someone if you were going to lay them off anyway. Right?
Yeah, because that was
practice.
Yeah, because you're right. A lot of businesses, they like at the end of April, they were going to reduce their staff anyways, right?
Yeah.
Got it. If that's your normal business operation. And again, we're looking forward. We're planning to have somebody from the SBA on our future Facebook Live.
Yes, we're going to have someone from the SBA at the fest, maybe even sooner.
Yes. Yeah, and then I think, is that your next slide?
Yes, here we go. Are we ready? Ready for the next slide?
Yeah, sure. We could answer questions.
All right, we can still answer questions, but because of the coronavirus and the uncertainty of everything, and now they've extended the stay at home till April 30th, maybe. We are going to do our corporations and partnerships class virtual in May. Now, this is a workshop style class, so we're going to show you how to fill out the forms. So the first day is going to be bookkeeping. We're going to go through the bookkeeping process for tax preparers. We're going to go through payroll, sales tax, and depreciation. So you have to get your fundamentals before you get into balance sheets and these kinds of more complicated returns. So this is going to be a refresher course. It's going to be a get used to the vernacular, the vocabulary that we use. We're going to go over the bookkeeping, LLC, sole proprietors, partnerships, what's a qualified joint venture, C Corp, S Corp, and it's going to be one room in English and another room in Spanish. So we're going to serve the whole community there.
Nice. Because I know a lot of people have been asking, hey, I want to learn about bookkeeping and payroll now that I have more time, that we're going to be able to have the staff working there. So that's great to be able to learn about this.
Yeah, see, we're
for
going to do
sure.
it virtually. I mean, let's face it, it's going to take a while for everybody to get back to normal. I don't think it'll take too long, but it'll take a while. And so let's just go virtual. Let's reduce that stress of crowds and, catching this horrible virus that nobody has resistance to. We will in about a year or so, but for now, let's not risk it.
Perfect. And I see some more questions coming in.
Okay.
So the next question is, retired people who will receive the money, what happens if they live with their children and are dependent on their taxes? Interesting. So if you are,
because you can, okay, technically you can file married filing joint if you're a dependent on someone else's return, but there's limitations, okay? So I don't remember reading that anywhere in the law, those 800. Hey, Roberto, maybe he knows. He read the whole thing. Was that Roberto that read it?
Yeah, I think he's like, oh, we should have him tomorrow or soon. He's pretty good. Roberto, because
go ahead. Did he say something? Did he comment?
No, not yet.
So yeah, that's a great question. What about if you're married, filing joint, and your children claim you as dependents?
Yeah, no. So here's the scenario. So you have an older lady, let's say, or an older couple, but they don't file any tax returns because they're only getting Social Security income. If they're the children, if they're the dependents on somebody else's tax return, they're not going to get $500 because they're over 17, but they may get their own stimulus because the way I understand it, they're going to be sending the stimulus payments directly through the same means. You know how they get their Social Security income, their direct deposit, their payments? I think they're going to get it through there too. But do you get disqualified because you're dependent on somebody else's return? That's the question.
Exactly.
Got it.
That's going to be interesting to see.
Perfect. So next question is, are they using the AGI or the actual gross income?
AGI. It's your adjusted gross income they're using.
Yeah, got it. So it's AGI. Sounds great. Next question is from our friend Isamar from San Jose.
Oh,
She's been our friend.
For the start of this.
She's asking, for the client that filed 2019 tax return with an ITIN in 2019, but they just received their Social Security number, will they qualify for the el cheque?
Okay, what's the rules on that? Remember that PATH Act of 2014 changed the rules. So they have to file their tax return with the new valid Social Security number on or before the due date. So yay, the due date is now July 15. So
got it. So if they
file an amended return.
Yeah, you're right, because so if they haven't filed, they should file with the Social Security number, but if they filed with an ITIN, then they should amend it and send in their social, right? Because they just got it.
Exactly. Do it before, because remember, you know the rules, Tony. The PATH Act changed it to the due date.
Yeah, now the due date
July 15th.
Postponed. And she said, thank you so much.
That's one of our fans over there.
Awesome. What about people with bank products?
Well, when you fill out a bank product, you as a tax pro, you know that on the client data worksheet, you're entering the name of the bank, the routing number, the account number. Well, the IRS gets that. But when you do a bank product, the bank directs the IRS to deposit your refund into a temporary account at the bank. And as soon as that money is dispersed, theoretically, that account evaporates. So theoretically speaking, the IRS does have your routing number, your deposit number, and supposedly because we've talked to TPG, supposedly they're lobbying the IRS to send the refunds directly to the bank account.
Ah, that way they don't have to go through an intermediary, and then be able to kind of
like us.
Intermediary. And yeah, and then that'll confuse things because what a lot of them have like the cards, right? And then they may not have them anymore. Maybe they chucked them.
Yeah, they've already thrown those cards away.
They use the money, now the cards are gone. Perfect. So let's see. Oh, is there a limit on the amount of children that will get the stimulus payment? What if you have 4 or 5 children or dependents under 17?
Well, the way I read the law, it's 500 per. So you got 4 kids, you're getting $2,000.
Yeah, that's the way I read it too. That makes sense. Let's see here. If regarding we talked about grandparents. We just talked about bank products. What is the head of household amount? So if you're filing head of household, it's still $1,200, $1,200.
Yeah.
That the primary taxpayer will receive.
And there's a threshold. I forgot what it was, 118,000 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the difference. That if it's head of household, the threshold is higher than if it's single.
Single, right.
So that is. And then somebody's asking, do you guys know about the new law that starts April 1st? They may be talking about the Family First Coronavirus Response Act for the payroll credits.
Yeah, I talked about.
Oh, yeah, if you get it. Yeah, so that's the new law.
Yeah, that one that the one I said Families First, that starts April 1st.
Yeah. Okay, that's what it is. Perfect. And somebody said, what about marriage filing separate? Will they be excluded from the stimulus?
No.
What do you think?
I think
yeah, it'll just be
single.
Like single. Okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, they're probably gonna be treated as single, right? $1,200. Got it. Let's see. There's some more coming in. Yeah, everyone keep sending in your questions for sure. What about students that worked part-time in 2019, but now work full-time in 2020? Will they get the stimulus credits? And that's the one, I think that's why there's going to be a reconciliation of the credit. So if in 2019 you were dependent on somebody else's return, but you were above 17, you may not get that credit. But if 2020 now you're doing your own tax return, when you file your 2020 tax return, you're going to possibly be able to get that rebate that you're not getting now.
Yeah, remember, if you're dependent on someone else's return, that someone else is who's going to get the credit, not you.
Yeah.
Just remember that. Whenever I hear a question, well, what if a dependent on another person? No, okay, well, you're a dependent. Whoever the taxpayer is, they're getting the credit if they qualify.
Perfect. Let's see. Some people don't have bank accounts. How will they receive their money?
Check.
The IRS will mail them a check, and it'll take a little bit longer than just a direct deposit, right?
Yeah. The Steve Mnuchin, the Secretary of Treasury, said they're going to have a form up on the IRS's website where if you don't have a bank account, you can fill out this form. It's secure, encrypted, and giving the IRS directions where to send your stimulus check.
Got it. And last question here is, what if you changed addresses and the check goes to an old address?
Then you need to fill out the change of address form for the IRS and send that off today.
Yeah, somebody made a comment here. Is it Form 8822? Form 8822, change of address. That is a good.
Send it in. Fax it if you can. I don't know the fax number. It might be on the form.
Yeah. Cool. What if the bank account is incorrect? Oh yeah, what if the 2019 bank account number is incorrect? Could you do that on that form? I don't think so, right? That's a change of address form. That's not a change of bank account form.
No, because you would know, because when you filed your taxes this year, you got a check instead of a direct deposit. So, and like I said, man, don't call the IRS. You have a 35% chance of them answering, or I should say 65% chance of them hanging up on you. So make sure your numbers are correct, people.
Yeah, wow. Here's another comment.
Yeah, those are good questions.
What if, here's another situation. What if the dependent has a social security number, and everybody has a social, including the dependent, but the dependent is currently in Mexico? Will that dependent get the $500 stimulus payment?
Well, what are the rules for other dependent children to get that $500 for ODCs? What are
Yeah, they need to be a resident of the U.S. So a resident, yeah.
A resident of the U.S. and they need to be here to fulfill the, what's that residency test that we always talk about?
Oh, the substantial presence test?
Yeah, substantial presence test.
Got it.
I think,
yeah,
I mean,
because
this is new territory for us. So that's a good question.
Yeah, because the law specifically says that those who are non-residents will not receive they call it a rebate in the law, the stimulus money.
But if your child's in Mexico going to school, it's just like going to school anywhere else. I mean, when you say my child's in Mexico, why is your child in Mexico? That's the first
right now, especially now.
Especially now. Yeah, with all this stuff going on, bring your kids home, man. Yeah, don't leave them over there.
Yeah, and then here we go. What about DACA recipients? DACA with
Social
Security numbers.
Don't know yet.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, if they have socials, they're authorized to work, they should be no different than anyone else.
Well, remember, the DACAs didn't get earned income tax credit. There was some credits that DACAs didn't qualify for. This could be one of them. I don't know.
Yeah, they didn't qualify for the premium tax credit because they were not lawfully present.
Yeah.
But yeah, stay tuned for more. So that's the reason why I always say this, why we exist as an organization, because even though obviously this law, there's a lot of webinars and a lot of different presentations around what the law means, we specifically talk about what the CARES Act, how that applies to immigrant taxpayers of America, which include a lot of mixed status families, which include DACA recipients, I-10 holders. So that's our focus. And all the tax professionals that follow us and that work with us, that's the type of clients that they have. And so whenever we do things, yes, we're going to go over the law, you're going to learn about different, topics, but a lot of the times it's aimed at that market, just because that's a growing market, that is an underserved market, and there's a lot of need overall.
Yeah, immigrants are the emerging market. There's over 55 million immigrants in this country, okay? And that's the only group that's growing. They bought 80% of the new homes that were sold last year. So that's a huge economic demographic that if you're on the ball and you're here to really take care of them, you'll have clients for the rest of your life, the rest of your career.
Yes, yes. Do you have one more slide on your presentation?
I do. So we moved the fest, everybody. We moved it to December. We're still at the MGM, but now we're going to hold it from December 15th to December 17th We have something new on December 14th. We're going to have a meet and greet social. Get there on the 14th before 4 o'clock, pick up your badge and enjoy a drink or a soda or a water on Latino Tax Pro. And we have the plaza now out there in front of the expo or the mercado, the marketplace. We also have something really wonderful this year to let all of you know about, and those are lunch and learns. So when you sign up for your ticket, there's going to be a box there for you to check that says, I'm interested in a free lunch. Click on that box, and one of the exhibitors, one of the sponsors that's on there, or all of them, will contact you and let you know about getting a free lunch. You'll learn about the latest technology, services, software. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. And then we have a special discount on travel. If you've already bought your room at MGM before this big coronavirus outbreak, the MGM will, if they haven't already, refunded your credit card that you paid for your reservation. And they're accepting new reservations for this December week, and the prices have dropped dramatically. I believe right now they're $65 for the West Wing, and I think it's $69 for the run of the house. So really good prices, plus the resort fees, whatever those are. Southwest, you get a discount with Southwest flying to the Las Vegas. Now make sure you use the discount code that we have on our website and put in your frequent flyer miles in there so that you continue to get free miles. It's a deal. Nobody else is doing this. Join us. Have fun.
God, yeah, and then a lot of the top, Vegas, baby, right? And hopefully after all this is all done for, people are going to be wanting to kind of blow off some steam.
I hope so, because this has really been stressful.
Yes. And then, so a lot of these topics that we're covering through these Facebook Lives, we're going to be having them in vivo, in person, at the Tax Fest in Vegas. A lot of the speakers that were scheduled for this July, if not all the speakers, are going to be there in December, but we're going to have them on doing webinars the next 4 to 5 months, so you can get a taste of what is to come in December. So, people from the Social Security Administration will be on, the Small Business Administration, the IRS, and other franchise tax. But we're going to try to have them do webinars so you can get a feel for what is going on. So when you see them in Vegas in person in December, you'll be ready to ask all the questions you have. So awesome.
Yes. The more the merrier. It's well worth it. Come over, learn. We even had a couple that met at our fest 3 years ago. 2 years ago, they started talking to each other again. Last year, they got married. So.
Yeah, wow. Love
hopefully
at the
next
fest,
year they
come
won't
find
announce they're
love.
getting divorced, but we'll see.
No, yeah, we'll see. It's the tribulations. But no, awesome. And text us 866-936-2587 if you have any questions. Go ahead and send us a text so we could be able to help you and answer the questions that we have. Let me see. Oh, here's another question. If I go to the fest in December, will I have enough time to renew for CTEC? Whoa.
Okay, so I'm going to reveal a huge secret right now. We've already approached CTEC and their board to see if they'll extend the registration period from October 31st to December 31st. So let's see what they say.
Yeah, we're asking for more time on that. And then somebody else asked, will my PTIN renewal be delayed if I go to the fest? No, I mean, you could renew your PTIN as soon as the opportunity is ready. But you just need to renew it by the end of the year, and we'll give you enough time for you to do your AFSP and everything else. So
yeah.
We have a plan in place for you to have a successful next tax season with all the training that you need, for sure.
Yeah, we sure do. We've been working hard to make sure that this is the prime tax event of the year. the premier tax event, and you're going to be part of it.
Definitely. Perfect. Well, thanks everyone. Keep sending these questions because this video is still going to be on our page, on our Facebook page. And if you keep sending questions, even after we stop being live, we can still answer them.
Yeah.
And you can still reference the material here. And mañana a las 9 de la mañana, a hora Pacífico, 9 Pacífico, que son las 12 este, esta presentación va a estar en español para que lleguen con sus preguntas mañana en la mañana.
Sí, vamos a estar aquí disponibles y dispuestos para ayudar a ustedes.
Perfect. Gracias a todos.
Gracias.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Tony. Buenas noches, everybody.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
See you tomorrow.